Hello, Friday. United States of America. Light vehicle sales annualized. It looks like if February goes according to projections and then projected out for the year, automobile sales will be over 15 million. You can see where it dropped down to under 10 million during the height or depth of the crisis, and before then it was hitting up at 16, 17. It's getting back almost to where it was. Ugh. It needs looking at and thinking about, this chart. I think this says a lot that I don't know about. Americans that know more about it than I do. They love their cars. They like them to drive around in. They like them to show off in. They're essential for many parts of America, except places like New York. Essential for living. This is going to burn less fuel, slightly, maybe, because these new cars will be slightly more efficient than the ones that have been resold to people that are still going to drive them. But it must mean that there are real old clunkers falling into the scrap heaps. I think the theme of this presentation is going to be the United States of America is trifurcated. There are those at the top, let's call them the billionaires. We know about them, call them the 1%, the billionaires. There's a great swathe, and I think we can call them now because money has become less worth, millionaires. The household, if everyone chipped in their golf clubs, the price of the house and all the money in the bank and all the 401k, they could probably get together $1 million. And as long as they've kept their jobs, they're doing all right. They're staying just about ahead of the game. They're not bouncing along and getting a much higher standard of living every year like people did in the 50s, 60s and let's say 70s. That's not happening to them, but they're staying ahead of the game. Nothing like the billionaires that are bounding ahead and getting a much higher standard of living. Although what sort of standard of living can you have when you're a billionaire? You have 15 rooms instead of 13 rooms. What difference does that make? But we know about the billionaires. The millionaires are staying ahead of the game, but a great swathe of the population isn't in this chart. They are not buying new cars, and they're really not staying ahead of the game. I think that's the theme for today. This is vaguely interesting that this is the price of oil, WTI in this case, and the price of gas, natural gas in the United States. And the price of the natural gas has been barrelized, so it can be compared with the price of oil. The price of oil is going uppity up up, and the price of gas is going downy down down. Somewhere along the line, people are going to use the efficiency thing and start converting things over, more things over to gas. And probably just at that time, the price of gas will go up. But capitalistic Smith invisible hand will make them move towards gas, with oil going up and gas going down. But they're only human, so they'll probably get it all wrong. Mish has put this chart together, number 3, real disposable income per capita. And this is probably the one that's really the theme of this presentation. Excuse me. The income gap, wages are not keeping up. That projected line, that the straight one that Mish has put in, actually goes back an awful long way, and if you go to the article, the older charts are in there. But since this recession, things are a little flat in the real disposable personal income, and That is for everybody, averaged out, including the millionaires and the billionaires, who are doing all right. But that number also includes all the people who are not doing all right. What I'm saying is that is probably the right chart for the middle. They're not just, they're only in the middle because they're millionaires, but they're right up towards the top. For the great swathe of the population, the vast majority of the population, they are not just flat, they are going backwards. CoreLogic, 28% of US homes now underwater. With home prices nationwide continuing to decline, it is not surprising that the number of owners who are underwater, i.e. owe more on their mortgages than the value of their homes, continues to increase. CoreLogic released Q4 data this morning showing that 11.1 million, or 22.8% of the US homes with a mortgage, were in negative equity position compared to 10.7 in the third quarter. That must be damaging the net worth and the mental spending power of the people. Next, Doug Short chart, Consumer Price Index, Personal Consumption Expenditure, the PCE, which the Fed takes notice of. Core PCE is what the Fed takes notice of, and the other one is CPI, which it used to, but it doesn't now, but most people in the media still take more notice of CPI. And both of them are as close to 2% as makes no difference. The Fed, according to them, is doing a good job. Actually, the chart, the MISH chart, the whole article there, if you want to follow it, is about if you do 2% per year, tick, 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 eventually you're going vertical. And we ask ourselves, why is 2% the number that is chosen? And why is the 2% the number that is arranged by the Fed, so everybody has to pay that extra 2% and try and get a wage rise of 2% plus to stay ahead of the game? Why is it? That's very rarely mentioned. So the Fed is doing its job by increasing the prices by 2%, but it's not up to the Fed to make wages rise by 2% plus. Domestic spending is flat. We're in the federal government now. The light green here is defence and other security, the military spending, and basically that's come down since this chart started 1962, went up recently because fighting wars is expensive, but it's projected that clinically, beautifully put in yellow line, is anything to the right of it is projections, and the projection is that it'll go down, mainly because the United States isn't in Afghanistan and Iraq to the extent it was. Everything else is in red, and everything else is everything else but the one in blue, Social Security, Medicare and Medicaid, which has been on the stomp and will continue to rise and rise. It's got a queer little turn down right at the end, and I would very much doubt that that will ever come into reality. That Social Security, Medicaid and Medicare will keep rising and rising and rising, and obviously this is something close to an actual problem that is sticking itself in the guts of the federal government, that one day it might have to do something about. But what is a heck of a conundrum. That's enough of the United States of America, and we'll go to the heck of a conundrum that is Greece, that the European people have handled so goddamn badly. Greece is now broken. So what do you do with a country that is broken? It seems lend it more money, but the Tom-Toms are saying it'll officially default this month. And it's getting towards there is no other option because it's broken. This is the manufacturing PMI going down to record lows. I mean, it's down at 37 something, lower than it was at the depth of the Great Recession. When everybody was there, it pulled itself back up because everyone thought, well, that's the end of this Great Recession, everything's going to turn out well. But Greece is different, and everybody has been shitting on it ever since, and that's what you get, and that's what they should have known that they were going to get. Greece is broken. Friday's Ikata Greek paper bank set to lose 17.6 billion euros because the private sector involvement, they are defaulting to their own banks, of course. But their own banks will have to be rescued. Money will have to be put into those banks via the government. The government will be lent money and told to put it into the banks to keep the banks alive, because we can't have the banking system falling over. It can be written as we want to protect the pensions and savings of the Greek people. But it's really just to save the banking system so there's no knock-on effect. The whole Greek thing was very difficult, but it has been handled in a very human way. And that's all I'm going to say. Friday. I might see you at the weekend, or I might not. Bye.